How do you respond to native speakers without even having to think? Many people, during a conversation with native speakers, might get to a point when you just can't reply, you can't think about what to say. They say something to you, and your mind goes blank. What do you say? This is super common, and especially in the early days of having a conversational level, when you're just about to make conversation, but then they go off topic a bit. How do you understand what they're saying if they're off topic? And how do you quickly get your mind to work on overdrive to think of the answer? In this video, I'm going to break down techniques on how you can do that. Let's start with speaking in your native language. If you're in a conversation with someone, many of you might relate to this. You're hearing a sentence, maybe it's how many times, and you're thinking, what could that be? So I'm going to call this the lightning effect, where essentially as someone is saying something to you, you think about what they could be saying. So if someone says how many times, you're thinking, okay, what could they be on about? If you're talking about sport or exercise, they might be saying how many times do you exercise or do this particular sport. So you're guessing what they could mean. And that's where essentially the start of the blade or the piece of lightning coming down is the main context of what they're saying. That's the first bit of the sentence. Then in your mind, you're preparing for what could happen. So after every word that they say or every noise that they make, you're thinking, what could that be? And you're thinking ahead of the options and you're preparing yourself for what to say if that's what they're talking about. So you'll do this in your native language. Just think about how many times you've completed someone's sentence or someone's about to say something, they can't think of the word and you know the word that they want to use. You say it and they're like, oh, thank you, perfect, I now know. So you can do that. You can use that technique that you already have in your mind. It's already installed there of guessing what they're going to say next, but use that when talking with a native speaker. Obviously, it depends at what point you are in your language journey. However, even if you know a little bit and it's grammatically incorrect, say you know one word out of a phrase, even saying that can be really helpful. For example, if someone in Spanish is asking you a question and you know the context of what they're asking you, using the same example as before, how many times, if someone says that to you in your target language, you can think to yourself, what's the word for times or occasions? So I'm thinking, I know the word for that. And then how many is a number. So it might be between 1 and 10 or something. If you're talking about how many times you do exercise per week or per month, you know numbers. So if you say 2 times, that's the answer. And you're preparing that as they're saying the sentence. So you're getting your answers ready. You're predicting what they're going to say and getting your answers ready in time for when they actually say it. So that by the time they've said it, you already know what you're going to say. You have maybe 3 or 5 different options in your head with the keywords that have loaded before they've even finished a sentence. Obviously, the slower they speak, the better. So if you're practicing your target language, I'd recommend asking the native speaker that you're practicing with to talk a bit slower, maybe 70% pace or something, or word by word. Ask them to speak slower because it then gives you more time to predict what they're going to say next. It also gives you more time to work out what the sounds mean in your native language or to work out what that sound means and translate it into a word in your head essentially. But it's as simple as that essentially. But many of us, I've noticed when we're speaking a different language, someone says something to us and we wait until they finish the whole sentence or the phrase, and we then try and work out, what could they be saying? But if you're loading the next bit of what you want to apply as they're saying it, so how many times do you go, okay, where could it go? Now there's going to be a place name, maybe it's the beach or the gym or something, to the gym, okay, now what's going to be the next word? Per week or per month? In the meantime, you're loading the word for veces in Spanish, which is times, or volte in Italian. And then you're thinking, okay, I know that word, and now I need numbers. Now, would it need to be 0 or 1 to 10 or to 20 if it's how many times per month or per year, for example? So you're thinking, okay, you're loading the words that you need to know. And then by the time they've finished it, they've said, how many times do you go to the gym per month? And they've finished the word month, and you already have the number 8 in your head and the word for times. So you can just say, literally, the simplest answer possible that you can say to that is 8 times. That's it, because you don't need to specify the month. You don't need to tell them what they've told you. But you just say, 8 times. And then they go, okay, nice, cool. And their response is just normal because you've answered it. But you knew vaguely what the answer was from the first word. That's essentially the trick here. So what's the benefit in doing that? Well, the benefit is that you're not waiting until they finish the whole phrase. Then you're having to work out what the whole series of sound combinations and words in that phrase mean. Then you have to think, what is it? You have to understand it first. And you have to think what the answer could be and then say it. However, when you're predicting what they're going to say, you can, as they're saying it, think of an answer in response to it. So some of you might already be doing that at the moment in your native language. Someone says something and you can guess what they're on about. And you can either choose to cut them off, like a lot of us might be tempted to, mid-sentence, which is a habit, or you can wait until the end and already prepare exactly what you want to say back, and you've thought about it, you've had a chance to think while they're talking to you, essentially. And that cuts time replying back to them. It makes it seem instantaneous for them because you've already thought of the answer. So that's it. If you'd like to learn more or continue to get closer to your language learning goals, YouTube recommends a video for you, which you'll see right now in my top left or right. I'd recommend clicking there to get closer to your goals. But in the meantime, see you later.